What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes, and today I'm going to be going over my Sacred Seals upgrade priority list. So this list is not really a tier list, but it just gives you a basic guideline on which Sacred Seals you should be upgrading first, and Sacred Seals can be forged and upgraded by using Sacred Coins, and Sacred Coins are a rather limited currency. They cannot really be farmed, and you have to carefully use them, and it's especially really important for any kind of new player because they have already missed a lot of Sacred Coins which were given away in the quests and Tempest Trials and stuff like that, and they've also missed a lot of Sacred Seals, so they have to spend the Sacred Coins to actually forge the version 1 of those Sacred Seals. So that's why you should be carefully using your Sacred Coins and upgrading the most powerful Sacred Seals first, and then move on to some of the niche ones depending on your team needs. And this list is going to be doing exactly that. Now this is just my opinion, and this is how I value these Sacred Seals, and this is something which I've actually followed myself and upgraded these Sacred Seals in that order. So let's begin with top priority Sacred Seals. These Sacred Seals are the most powerful and the most important Sacred Seals in the entire game, and you should be upgrading these as soon as possible because they are really good. And you can actually see a color in the background of these Sacred Seals placings, and that is color coded to match the badges which they require for getting forged and also for being upgraded. So it's just for convenience. So first of all, we have got Distant Defense Sacred Seal. And Distant Defense Sacred Seal is one of the most powerful Sacred Seals ever since we got the ability to upgrade them. And Distant Defense is really good because on average in Fire Emblem Heroes, units will be having slightly less resistance than they will be having defense. So that's why Distant Defense can definitely help you take on those ranged threats, and a lot of ranged Cavaliers can also be quite annoying in arena, such as Reinhardt and Brave Lynn. Unless you're in tier 20, then for that case, armor units are much bigger of a threat. And from my experience of making so many free-to-play guides, I've always found out that for in-game modes, Distant Defense is much more useful than Close Defense because most of the time, the most annoying enemies on the maps are usually ranged enemies, and there, Distant Defense can really help you a lot. Not to mention, we've also got a lot of good distant counter units like Black Knight, Xander, and also Legendary Ike, so you could definitely use Distant Defense Sacred Seal on them, and even on Fiorm if you're not using Ice Mirror, because Distant Defense doesn't really work very well with Ice Mirror, and it actually reduces the damage Fiorm can do by absorbing it with Ice Mirror. So that's why Distant Defense is in the top priority. You should definitely upgrade this. And then we've got Quick Repose Sacred Seal, and it is pretty much the best enemy phase skill for slot B, and it is available as a Sacred Seal. So that allows you to use a lot of combos like the Very Fighter and Quick Repose combo with Hector, which makes him Omni Breaker, so he can basically double every enemy but not get doubled himself. And for some other units, you can also run skills like Guard, Renewal, or a breaker skill in slot B and run Quick Repose Sacred Seal. So it can be quite useful with that. And Quick Repose is really useful because you do not have to spend 20,000 feathers every time you want to use Quick Repose on some kind of unit. And Quick Repose Sacred Seal is the reason why we have got mixed phase sets like Zelgius with Bold Fighter, Steady Breath, and Quick Repose Sacred Seal. Same goes for Harden and Grima, so it is a really good Sacred Seal that can combo amazingly well with a lot of the slot B skills such as Bold Fighter, Renewal, and the ones I listed before. So definitely upgrade Quick Repose Sacred Seal. And we have got Close Defense. Now Close Defense is also really important, but I don't think it's as important as Distant Defense. Overall, Close Defense is definitely much useful in arena compared to in-game modes, at least in my experience, because in arena, at least in tier 20, you have got a lot of heavy hitting armor units who have got Bold Fighter or Vengeful Fighter, and a lot of the biggest threats in the game right now like Zelgius, Ira, and male Grima or physical units, so Close Defense can definitely help you with that. And after you have upgraded Distant Defense and Quick Repose, you should definitely go with Close Defense Sacred Seal. Close Defense and Distant Defense Sacred Seals can also be comboed into other slot A skills that provide defense or res, because these seals do stack up because they give you Spur buffs, and that way you can make your units really bulky. And then we have got Attack +3 and Speed +3 Sacred Seals. Now these are really amazing Sacred Seals because literally any kind of unit can use it, and it can also be nice for neutralizing the bad Banes like minus attack or minus speed. It doesn't really fix the bad IVs, but it at least brings your unit back to neutral stat, so it can be useful with that if your favorite unit which you pulled has got bad Bane. And like I said, it's really flexible, can be used on any kind of unit, and for brave weapon users or any kind of hard hitting units, Attack +3 is a really good Sacred Seal, and similarly Speed +3 is really good for units who have to run Blade Tome, Vote weapons, Fire Sweep weapons, or just any kind of builds that require a lot of speed, the ones which use Desperation and stuff like that. So Speed plus 3 has got its usage, and these two Sacred Seals are actually really versatile, so there's no reason for you to not upgrade them, and that's why I've got them in the top priority. And then we've got Heavy Blade Sacred Seal. Now this might be a little controversial because a lot of people think that Heavy Blade Sacred Seal is a rather overrated Sacred Seal, and I can definitely understand why they think that, because you need a high enough attack to use that, and not every time you can fit this on your team, but trust me, when you do, this Sacred Seal is absolutely amazing. Not only can work with high cooldown specials like Gale Force, but it can also be quite useful with low cooldown specials like Moonbow and Glimmer. If you're using them with high attack brave weapon users like Shershi, so you could definitely go with the first hit, charge up Glimmer or Moonbow, and on the second hit of your brave weapon, you could proc your Glimmer or Moonbow, and that's why Heavy Blade Sacred Seal is pretty good. And there are a lot of units who have got high base attack and they can make use of that. And the reason why Heavy Blade Sacred Seal is so good is because you could run an attack boosting skill on slot A like Life and Death, Death Blow, or anything like that increases your attack, and that will work with Heavy Blade. And not only that, you could definitely run this with some emblem teams where you could get +6 attack buff and then proc Heavy Blade even more consistently. And it's also a really good Sacred Seal for any kind of Blade Tome user because it does work with the Blade Tome attack buffs, and Blade Tome units do get +1 cooldown penalty, so you could definitely use Heavy Blade to neutralize that. And I've upgraded all of these Sacred Seals and I use them in my free-to-play guides, except for the Heavy Blade Sacred Seal because not a lot of free-to-play units have got that high attack and also a attack boosting slot A skill. And if they have that, then they probably do not come with a default special, so that's why you don't really see Heavy Blade Sacred Seal being used in my free-to-play guides. But all of those other Sacred Seals, you guys have seen me use them, and they are really important. That's why I've got them in the top priorities. So whatever you do, please upgrade these Sacred Seals as soon as possible and whenever you get Sacred Coins. And then we move on to the high priority. So in high priority, we have got Drive Defense Sacred Seal, and Drive Defense is a pretty amazing and cheap Sacred Seal to upgrade because it only takes 100 Sacred Coins to upgrade it to the final version because it comes at version 2 by default at Drive Defense 1. So that's why this is the only Sacred Seal which requires the least amount of Sacred Coins to get to its final level, and that's why it's really amazing. And its range is pretty good and it can be stacked up with stuff like Fortified Defense, another Drive Defense on slot C, or some other weapons like Mart's Refined Falchion, which gives defense buff, so you could stack up Drive Defense with that. And then we've got Panic Ploy Sacred Seal. So it's really useful for Arena because there are a lot of buffs going on in Arena, and people are using the dual rally skills for Arena points. So you're definitely using Panic Ploy against those skills, and Panic Ploy is quite amazing after we got Weapon Refinery feature because upon refines, you could get more HP on your units, and that can certainly help with Panic Ploy. Not to mention Summoner support is also right there, so Summoner support can definitely help with the Panic Ploy activation. And overall, Panic Ploy is a pretty nice skill for Arena usage. You're not going to be using it too much in the in-game content like Grand Hero Battles or Bound Hero Battles, but many times I found out that they have made some kind of maps where the starting units will get the Hone Cavalry or Hone Flyers buff, so their Panic Ploy can be used. And I remember on Michaelis' Grand Hero Battles, Michaelis and his Flyers do get the Flyer buffs on the first turn, and I remember using Arden, who had really high HP, with Panic Ploy to just debuff the Flyers and then easily pick them off with other units. So Panic Ploy is certainly quite useful, and it's a premium skill after all, you cannot easily get that, so it's pretty nice, and a lot of the armored units can easily use it. And then we've got Defense Tactics Sacred Seal. This is one of the more recent Sacred Seals, and it is absolutely amazing for any kind of mixed movement emblem team because we have got Lara Shell at 4-star rarity who has got Res Tactic, and you can easily upgrade her to 5-star for Res Tactic 3 and have a really awesome Res and Defense Tactic combo. And even if you do not use that, Defense Tactic in itself is amazing because it gives you +6 defense boost, and that can mean life or death in a lot of the higher tier arena matches where, like I said, you're going to be facing +10 merged armored units that can hit really hard. And even in the in-game modes like Grand Hero Battles and Chain Challenges, units have got really inflated attack, so that's why Defense Tactic can be really useful. +6 defense is absolutely amazing, and another Sacred Seal that helps makes movement emblem teams is Guidance Sacred Seal. So Guidance Sacred Seal is absolutely fantastic because it does increase the mobility of your infantry and armored units, and it's especially really good for people who have not pulled a armor march unit. So if they want to use their favorite armor units, they can provide the guidance support to them and use them much more easily without getting hindered by the one movement which the armor units have got. And flyers have got amazing mobility, so you can make use of them and provide more mobility to your infantry and armored units, and guidance is definitely a pretty useful skill. So if you do run a mixed movement emblem team as your main arena team, then you could definitely go ahead and upgrade guidance. And even if you do not, then we have got a lot of really good free to play armor units like Valentine Elliewood, Black Knight, and also Arden, so you could use Guidance Sacred Seal and use them without really using Armor March support. And then I've got Attack Ploy, and the reason why you're not seeing Rest Ploy or Defense Ploy in the high priority is because Attack Ploy is more universally useful than those Ploy skills, because Rest Ploy is only useful for magical units and Defense Ploy is only useful for physical units, but Attack Ploy is really good for any kind of team, and there are a lot of units who can run this Sacred Seal, like magic tanks like Sanaki, Julia, Deidra, or healers, or flying units like Shida who have got really high resistance, and even some armored units like Halloween Henry, Winter Tharja, and also Valentine Lin, who have got pretty good res and they can make use of that. And as a tank, reducing damage is quite nice, and I think that if you've got more than 32 res, you can make amazing use of Attack Ploy. But the thing is that after Weapon Refinery, it might be harder to trigger Attack Ploy against a lot of the units because they could just run a Res Refine on their weapon, and that could definitely make it things difficult for you. But still, Attack Ploy is a pretty fantastic skill, and like I said, it can be universally useful because everyone can appreciate the low damage output of your enemy. And if we get Speed Ploy, then it's definitely going to be joining the ranks of Attack Ploy. And Speed Ploy is the only Ploy seal which we do not have right now. And then I've got Attack Smoke at last for the high priority. So Attack Smoke gives -7 attack debuff to your enemies, and it's a pretty huge debuff, and it can be comboed really well with Speed Smoke, Defense Smoke, or even Res Smoke, but it's comboed best with Speed Smoke, which a lot of people can have access to thanks to Fallen Takumi, because he was recently a free-to-play unit, so you could definitely upgrade him for Speed Smoke and use him and get this combo. It's definitely decent for arena, but from my experience, it's much better in Grand Tour battles, some Tempest Trial maps, and chain challenges where you just cannot afford to take a lot of damage and where you cannot really ploy the enemies with Attack Ploy Sacred Seal because they have got inflated stats, so you cannot exactly trigger that. But you can definitely use Attack Smoke in those scenarios where you have to face hordes of enemies, and I definitely find it quite useful in that regard. So those were the high priority Sacred Seals. Now let's move on to higher mid priority, and we have got Spur Attack and Spur Speed here. These Sacred Seals are absolutely fantastic because they can be stacked up with Hun Attack, Spur Attack, Attack Tactic, or Drive Attack on slot C skill of other units. And these are really good enemy face Sacred Seals, and I definitely think you should be upgrading these first before Hun Attack or Hun Speed if you're not using too many Blade Tome units in your roster. I definitely think because they can be stacked up over other buffs, they're quite useful, and you cannot really panic ploy Spur Attack and Spur Speed buffs because they are Spur buffs. So that's why I've got them in high priority. And then I've got Savage Build Sacred Seal. So Savage Build Sacred Seal has got a lot of potency after we have got Weapon Refinery and the healer upgrades, because you can run Pain plus Staff and have dual Savage Blow and do massive amounts of passive damage to your enemies, and that is fantastic for a lot of the in-game content. You can clear a lot of Grand Tour battles and a lot of the chain challenges by using a healer who has got Pain plus Staff and a Dazzling Staff Refine, so you will never get counter-attacked and you can get free damage on your enemies. So that's why Savage Build Sacred Seal definitely has a lot of usage with that, and even Jafar can make amazing use of that because he can do a lot of passive damage with his Refined Deathly Dagger, and he does have Tome Sweep built into that, so you can initiate attack on mages safely and get the free passive damage. But in Arena, there is always a danger of doing too much passive damage and then inviting a Wings of Mercy unit to end your deathless run. But still, Savage Blow is a fantastic Sacred Seal. And then we've got Hun Attack and Hun Speed Sacred Seals. These are pretty good if you run a lot of Blade Tome users, and buff bots like Eric and Ephraim can definitely use this. And like I said, Spur Attack and Spur Speed, I do consider them to be better Sacred Seals than these two, but still they can be upgraded and they are fantastic. and you can basically buff 2 stats by running a Slotsy skill and then running these honed skills. And at last we have got Defense Ploy. So this Secret Seal is quite useful, like I said, for high resistance units, similar to Attack Ploy, but it is especially really useful for low attack units like Felicia and Shida, who could really appreciate doing more damage to their enemies, and they already have pretty good resistance, so they could definitely run Defense Ploy. And it's quite useful even for units like Ines, who have got pretty good attack, pretty good speed, and they can just do more damage with the help of Defense Ploy. And now let's move on to the medium priority Sacred Seals. We have got Rest Ploy here, and Rest Ploy is definitely the worst ploy in my opinion right now, because only magical units can use that, and magical units do struggle to do damage against other higher resistance units, and against them it's gonna be hard to proc your Rest Ploy. So that's why I've got Rest Ploy in the medium priority, and Rest Ploy is definitely much difficult to proc because you yourself need to have a higher res, and the units you want to proc this against are probably going to be having more res than you. For example, a dedicated magic tank is probably going to have more resistance than your magical nuke, so that's why it makes it hard for Rest Ploy to get triggered compared to defense and attack ploy. But still, I'm not saying it's completely useless. It can definitely be used by a lot of high resistance mages like Female Morgan, recent example for that. And she can run a Blade Tome, run Rest Ploy by running Fury, and nuke stuff with her Blade Tome. So it certainly has its usage, but much less usage compared to Attack Ploy and Defense Ploy. And then we've got Deflect Magic Sacred Seal. Deflect Magic Sacred Seal is the best Deflect Sacred Seal we've got, because any kind of unit can equip Deflect Magic Sacred Seal, unlike Deflect Melee, which only melee range units can equip. So Deflect Magic is quite good for units who want to run a bulky set by running Steady Breath and Warding Breath in slot A instead of running Distant Counter, and they still want to receive less damage from magical attacks. So they can run Deflect Magic Sacred Seal and receive much less damage. A fantastic example for this is Arden, who has got a really high HP pool, and he has got pathetic resistance, but because his HP is so high, he can actually have decent magical bulk, not really too bad, and with Deflect Magic Sacred Seal, he can still survive a lot of the hard-hitting magical units. So Deflect Magic definitely has its usage, and Deflect Magic is also used for taking on Reinhardt and Olwen, who have got a Brave weapon as a magical tome. And Deflect Magic can be used for that if you struggle against Reinhardt and Olwen, and if you do not have a check for them on your team, so you could definitely run that. And then we've got Brash Assault Sacred Seal. It's a rather niche skill, and a lot of the units who do not have the speed to quad attack can run Desperation on slot B and run Brash Assault as a Sacred Seal, and that's the main application of Brash Assault Sacred Seal, which is to double or quad attack with really slow units. For example, if a unit like Shershi is going to be quad attacking any kind of unit, she can even take out some of the most bulky red units because she can hit that hard. So a lot of the slow Brave Weapon users are pretty heavy hitting, and they can definitely make use of Brash Assault. Also, units like Eltigan, who have got Fury Refine on their weapon, can make use of this. And also units like Branded King Crom can make use of Brash Assault because he's got Seal Falchion, and because of that he usually runs Fury, which has got good synergy with Brash Assault. But the problem is that its threshold condition is still troublesome because it's at half health, and it's not always possible to do that in arena matches. Sure, in in-game modes like Tempest Trial, you can definitely make amazing use of it. You can run a Reinhardt and have him fall into the Brash Assault range and just quad attack all kinds of inflated units, but for that, you definitely have to run it on a unit who can actually take a hit and not just get killed in a single hit. And this can be used with a lot of the Brave Bow archers who cannot naturally quad attack, for example Leon. And if you do use it in arena, then you can definitely proc this quite frequently because you're going to be facing a lot of distant counter units, but the problem is getting into the threshold condition without getting killed. You could definitely run Reciprocal Aid to get into that for arena, but then you miss out on a movement assist skill, so it's up to you, and it's definitely quite situational. And then I've got Hardy Bearing Sacred Seal, and I would definitely rate this higher if it didn't cancel out your own skills. So basically it cancels out Vantage and Desperation, any kind of skill that changes the order of your attack. So Vantage lets you attack before your enemy, and Desperation lets you do consecutive attacks if you can naturally double the enemy, and in particular it's really helpful in facing Vantage units in Arena. For example, Valentine Hector, who has got Vantage, and he has got Berserk Iron Mats, and if he procs something like Ignis through his Vantage, then it's really hard to take him on. So for that, you can use Hardy Bearing Sacred Seal on a lot of these nukes who can destroy such units like Hector. But the problem is that if your own unit runs Desperation or Vantage on its slot B, then Hardy Bearing Sacred Seal actually works against you, and it would be as if you do not have any kind of slot B skill, and that's why it finds itself in the mid priority. It doesn't really affect skills like Bold Fighter or Brash Assault or even Vengeful Fighter. It just works against Vantage and Desperation. And then we've got Breath of Life Sacred Seal. Breath of Life Sacred Seal is actually pretty good for Tempest Trials and Chain Challenges, and you could definitely stack this up with Breath of Life Slot C skill and heal a lot of HP, and it's definitely useful for those kinds of endurance modes. It doesn't really have too much usage in Arena because the HP you're going to be healing is not really going to be too much, and sometimes that can just mess up your Desperation or Vantage builds. So that's why it has more usage for in-game content, and it's pretty good for the people who don't really want to run a healer for Chain Challenge or Tempest Trial. And then I've got Fortify Res and Spur Res Sacred Seal. So the reason why I've not got Fortify Defense and Spur Defense Sacred Seal here is because we already have Defense Tactic and Drive Defense, which are just superior defense boosting skills than those two skills. And Fortify Res and Spur Res don't really have any kind of competition in that regard. We do not have Drive Res or Res Tactic as of yet. So that's why I've got these Sacred Seals here, and then we move on to lower mid priority. And we have got Poison Strike Sacred Seal. So Poison Strike is definitely much more inferior than Savage Blow because it only affects your initial target. It does not affect the enemies around them. And Savage Blow does that, and it can stack up with Pain Plus and weapons like that. So that's why it's not really a very strong Sacred Seal. And then we've got Fortress Res. Now Fortress Res is definitely outclassed by Distant Defense, but the thing is that Fortress Res does not give you spur buffs in combat like Distant Defense, and you could use Fortress Res if you actually want to proc your ploys even more, and it can be useful with that. But other than that, it does get outclassed by Distant Defense, and that's why I have not rated it very high. And then I've got HP plus 5 Sacred Seal, and definitely has its usage if you want to proc Panic Ploy, Infantry Pulse, or even the boost skills more. And with a Weapon Refine and Summoner Support, you could definitely boost the HP of your unit quite a lot with the help of this Sacred Seal. A lot of people do rate this at the lowest priority, but because it lets you proc 2 potent skills like Panic Ploy and Infantry Pulse, I've got this here, and in a way it does increase your bulk. And then we have got Deflect Melee Sacred Seal, and the biggest flaw of the Sacred Seal is that only melee range units can equip it. You cannot have the Sacred Seal on range enemies, which means that your melee range units will always be able to counter attack, and it makes it really hard to proc Deflect Melee unless you're up against a Brave Weapon user, or if you're running Vantage. It does have pretty good synergy with Vantage, especially on some slow tanky units, because you could use Vantage to attack your enemy first, and it does count as a consecutive hit if the enemy doubles your slow unit who has got Vantage, and their Deflect Melee Sacred Seal could help you minimize the damage. But other than that, it does not really have too many usage, and as it is, not a lot of the melee range Brave Weapon users are that threatening, and this cannot even be equipped by range enemies, so that's why Deflect Melee Sacred Seal is rated low. And then I've got Fortify Defense and Spur Defense Sacred Seal. Fortify Defense in a way is getting outclassed by Defense Tactic now, and Spur Defense does get outclassed by Drive Defense, because Drive Defense has got a better range, and it's much easily useful than Spur Defense. And because these seals have got competition, I've got these in the lower mid priority. And then I've got Deflect Missile Sacred Seal, which only reduces the damage from consecutive bow or dagger hits. We do not even have a Brave Dagger as of right now, so it doesn't really help anything against dagger units, and they don't really hit very hard. They're not the biggest threats in Arena. We do have a lot of Brave Bow Archers and also Brave Lyn who runs Sake's Blessing, and we also have a Halloween Jacob set in Arena, which is really threatening with Brave Bow and Bold Fighter. But Deflect Missile still has very niche usage, only against Brave Bow users pretty much, and that's why it's here. And at last we have got Threaten Speed Sacred Seal. Now its range is only limited to 2 tiles, and it's not a very versatile skill when we have got skills like Attack Ploy, Res Ploy, Defense Ploy who have got huge range, and if we ever get a Speed Ploy Sacred Seal, then Threaten Speed will lose even more value. And as it is, it's not the greatest Sacred Seal that you want to upgrade. There are certainly much useful skills who have got better range, and that's why it's here. And now we move on to the lowest priority Sacred Seals, and I have got Phantom Speed Sacred Seal. So Phantom Speed Sacred Seal is only useful with 3 skills: Flashing Blade, Wind Sweep, and Water Sweep. Flashing Blade units usually tend to run speed +3 and they're fast as it is, and those Flashing Blade units might as well just run speed +3 Sacred Seal and double more units and get more special charges. So it's practically only used with Wind Sweep and Water Sweep, and mainly it's used on a lot of units who are very frail or they just want to get the buffs so they can initiate attacks safely with the help of Phantom Speed. It also works with Ira's Blade, but it's not like Ira needs any kind of help in proccing Ira's Blade because of her already high speed. So it has got a very specific use with those who skills Water and Wind Sweep, and if you do not use those skills a lot, then Phantom Speed Sacred Seal is not going to be much useful for you, and that's why you shouldn't be upgrading it. It can definitely make up for a pretty good defense team that can surprise your opponent. I've definitely seen stuff like Water Sweep, Phantom Speed Sacred Seal, Reinhardt that can initiate attack on magic tanks safely, but that's about it. It has got a very specific use. And then we've got Threat and Attack Sacred Seal. It is completely outclassed by Attack Smoke and Attack Ploy, especially Attack Ploy, which has got a really good range. And Attack Smoke does proc after the combat, does not really proc before combat like Threat and Attack, but still, it's a much better Sacred Seal, and Threat and Attack is not very good. And then we've got Defense +3 and Res +3. These Sacred Seals are outclassed by Distant Defense and Close Defense Sacred Seal, who can provide you with a greater buff, and we also have stuff like Dive Defense, which can be helpful in increasing the defense of your unit. And we have got Seal Attack, and I do not even need to explain why this Sacred Seal is not good. It only procs on one target after the combat. We already have Attack Smoke and Attack Ploy, so this is not a very good Sacred Seal. And at last we have got Obstruct Sacred Seal, and this shouldn't really surprise anyone because for the most part in Arena, it's not much of a use and it's quite inconsistent. You might as well run a better Sacred Seal, and it's only useful in training your allies in those training maps where you could have Obstruct on a tank and choke the point. But even Obstruct 1 is useful with that. You don't really need to upgrade it, and that's why it's on the lowest priority. So that's my Sacred Seals upgrade priority list, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. And you can find the link of this list in the description down below. I will be updating this whenever new Sacred Seals get released. So if you guys enjoyed, then please be sure to leave a like. It helps me tremendously. And if you haven't already, then make sure to subscribe for more Fire Emblem Heroes content. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.